Hello you guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jess if you're new here, and today I have a really fun video for you guys. This video was initially supposed to be a challenge where I was really trying to stay off my phone. I've been very hyper aware of my phone usage, especially I don't even know when I started getting really into this, but I have been a person who for the longest time has been like, should I switch my phone for a dumb phone? How can I reduce my screen time? Should I take all of the color off of my phone? So screen time is a huge thing for me and I'm just not the best with it. So when I saw this video on a couple of other creators' channels, I thought, why not try it for myself? And it was not the easiest challenge to do. It's actually very, very hard. So today I was attempting to do the challenge, which is reading as many pages as I picked up my phone last week. There had been a couple of different things that came up within this first week that I was filming this video. So elections happened. I just generally had kind of a busy week as well. And I also still do work a 9 to 5. But despite all of those things, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna try to do this anyway because why not? I do feel like I was mildly successful the first few days, but I slowly derailed. And so as I was derailing, I turned this video into reading the entire Natural series over the course of a week and a half to 2 weeks, because I couldn't just leave you guys hanging at all. It didn't feel right for me to just not tell you guys about how I liked the rest of the series, or to just end it without finishing as many pages as I needed to or wanted to. So just bear in mind that I don't finish the challenge the way that I should, but I did read the entire series. It was very exciting and I'm excited to share with you guys my journey in this week of realizing that I can't read nearly as much as I think that I can read. I don't know why I think I can read so much, but I just can't. So anyway, enjoy. And if you guys have not checked out the Natural series, I highly recommend it. I really liked it a lot, which you guys will see within this video. Otherwise, I will let Past Jessica take it away. Okay, so it's day one. We're starting this on Saturday, November 2nd, and we're gonna go until next Friday, I guess is how we'll do this. Basically what we'll do is we'll check in to see what my pickups were last Saturday, which would have been October 26th. I'm a little scared, honestly, to see what my pickups are each day because I know I've been on my phone way too much, but let's find out. My first pickup was at 12:20 a.m., but I think that's because I fell asleep on the couch the night before. So we have 217 pickups, with the most being because of my Messages app. So Messages was 71, Safari 16, Instagram 15, so on and so forth. I'm honestly surprised that Instagram wasn't higher and that Safari was the highest, but I think that I spent a lot more time on other apps. If you look actually at what I was using, Google Maps was the most, YouTube, and then Instagram, and then Messages. So very interesting data, but Messages were where I picked up my phone the most. So 217 pickups, that means we have to read 217 pages. I'm currently reading The Naturals. This is the 4-book compilation, or it's the entire series but in one book. So I am on page, it's always crazy when you have 4 books in one because it says I have 30 hours left in the book, but I'm on page 49. So we have to get to page 266 today. I technically was reading this morning a few pages, but I'm not going to count those because I don't even remember what page I started on this morning. So we're just going to start from scratch on page 49. It's part of the way through a chapter, but that's just because I fell asleep reading this morning. So let's start here and get to page 266. So again, we have to read 217 pages today. Okay, we've officially made it to chapter 10 of The Naturals. So actually I realized that this has 4 books on here, but it has the 5th book, which is not actually a full book, it's a novella. So I have that as a separate book too, but I also have it I guess in here. But right now we're on chapter 10, and because I haven't told you guys about what the book is, I feel like I have a decent understanding at this point. So I will just tell you a brief synopsis so that we can get into it, because I feel like as I continue to read, I probably won't be able to give you guys as many details, or I'll just have to be a lot more vague because I don't want to give any spoilers. Essentially, The Naturals is kind of imagine CSI, where there are people who have special skills. They're not supernatural skills, but more like they have really good attention to detail. Like maybe they're really good at profiling or being able to almost like read someone's mind or like know what they're going to say, things like that. So that is, I guess reading minds is supernatural, but you get my point. So that is what this is. It's not like telekinesis or like flying or anything like that, but it is like more than your average person. So that is what these people are able to do, except all of them are younger, like teenaged kids, and they go and they work for the FBI. And basically they're trying to solve murders, solve serial cases, especially cold cases. And so there's a particular unit with the FBI that does that, and again uses these people who have these special skills to solve these cases. So basically our main character is Cassie, and she has been found by the FBI. They profiled her and essentially decided that she was a natural, and so they brought her over to this house in DC, specifically in Quantico. She's just meeting everybody for right now. So there's 5 of them total, including Cassie. 2 of them are profilers, which is what Cassie is, and then one of them is mind reader, one of them detects lies, and then one of them is like a statistician, I guess you could say. Like she's extremely good with numbers. And this whole thing is run again by the FBI, but specifically by other people who are not naturals, and they are adults, but they have been working for the FBI for X amount of years and like are professional profilers, but using their skills they're able to solve murders and like serial cold cases even more. And then from time to time you get these chapters that are more than likely from maybe like our bad guy, our serial killer in this book, just kind of talking about what he's doing and like his crimes with some of the women that he is interested in committing crimes against, some of the things that he saved after the crimes, like maybe a lipstick or something like that, kind of like a trophy. So it's been pretty interesting. It's like a weird mix of like, I think this series is technically YA, so it's not super gruesome, but the descriptions are just intense enough where it is very interesting. Even though I'm not a young adult, it still makes it very, very interesting. So it's not like too kid-ish, although there have been a couple of quotes where it's like, what in the Hello Kitty is happening here? And I'm like, okay, that's a little too much for me, but it is very good. I'm really liking it so far. So we're on chapter 10. I'm almost 100 pages in. I realized that if I read my 217 pages, I'm gonna be done with this book, with the first one. So we're gonna just keep reading. I wanna read as much as I possibly can and learn a little bit more. I don't know like if each one is gonna be following a different case or what exactly each book in the series does, but I have heard that there's a little bit of romance in here too, maybe like a love triangle or something like that. I'm imagining that it's between our main character and the 2 guys because there's only 2 men. The rest of them are all girls, but we'll see, because some of them are flirty with the other girls. So I don't know what the dynamic is going to be between everybody, but so far I'm really liking it. And yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say. I just wanted to give you guys the backstory. As I go through the books, I'll give you more backstory on each of them. That's where we're at in the naturals so far. Quick update, Michael, or sorry, not Michael. Yeah, Michael, the guy who is a mind reader, he's not actually a mind reader, so I guess it's not very supernatural, but he can read facial expressions to a degree that he can interpret what somebody is thinking. So I guess all of these things are like micro expressions to such a degree that like these people are able to like understand different things about you that normally you wouldn't be able to, which is very interesting. It kind of reminds me of the show Lie to Me, if you guys have ever seen that, where they're able to like deduce things because they're able to understand micro expressions. Very, very interesting so far. Just wanted to make that correction because I mentioned that it was a little bit supernatural, but technically speaking, I don't think it is. It's just like people with a heightened sense. Anyway, back to reading. I'm on chapter 18 now, so that is page 129. I've gotten to a little bit of the like romance part, not in a big way, but like in just like a very tiny way, but you can kind of tell where the love triangle is going to take us, which was sort of obvious with the types of characters that there are here, but you know, it started. I have no idea actually like what percentage I am in this book, only because this like Kindle edition that I have is all 5 of the books, but it says I'm at 9%, but the book is under 300 pages, so I'm almost halfway through the book. We're getting to a point where we're understanding who these like the snippets of the other chapters are. So basically like the majority of the chapters are from our main character Cassie's perspective, but then there's these like weird random chapters that just say you at the top, and then it just is like describing something. And so we're getting an understanding of who that is, which basically is just somebody that the FBI agents who are working with these kids, they're also simultaneously working on an actual case, which they're not giving to the kids because they only give the kids cold cases. So we're getting a sneak peek into what this person is thinking and like what they're doing, which is interesting. I feel like prediction, maybe this is like very obvious, but I think that they're gonna go from allowing the kids to only work on cold cases to pivoting into working on the case that's at hand. But obviously we shall see. There's been some like insights into like in the past maybe they did that, but I think that's what's gonna happen next. So I'm just gonna keep reading. It's honestly captured my attention like pretty easily. Each chapter is a maximum of like 10 minutes to read. They're very short chapters, so honestly it's been really fast paced so far. And I think also just because it is YA, it's not super hard to understand. Those like weird cheesy parts have like kind of gone by the wayside, so hasn't been too cheesy. It definitely is like, is that show called CSI? It's the one with Matt Gray Gubler, but anyway, it's like, you know, calling people unsubs and that whole thing, which for whatever reason makes me cringe a little bit, but at the same time I still find it very interesting, and just like the profiling itself is very interesting. So it's also cool because you get sneak peeks into like the main character's head as to how she does the profiling, which is really fun too. I'm gonna keep reading. Again, we're at page 129. I don't remember how much that means I have to read. I definitely have to finish this book and then I have 8 more pages of the next book to read to hit my number for today, which is 217. So we have a lot to read, so we're gonna keep going. Okay, one more update, and I'm sorry if you guys can hear the dishwasher, but the love triangle is in full force now. We are at a point where, because some people can like read facial expressions and like really understand and like profile one another, it's crazy because in some books you'll have a love triangle, or you know, you'll have a character really into another character and they won't tell each other. But in this book, because they can read their thoughts in a way, like not actually read their thoughts, but like read their facial expressions and understand their thoughts to a different degree, it's more like, oh yeah, you don't have to tell me how you feel. I know how you feel without you saying anything. So it's getting very interesting. And I kind of like the love triangle, honestly, because it's very like YA love triangle. It's not like, I read the Flock series, not, I don't know when that was, like February. That love triangle was a lot. Like in some ways this love triangle kind of reminds me of something similar, in the sense that like one of the characters is like more golden retriever, one of the characters is more like dark brooding kind of guy. But in that one it was like definitely an adult fiction novel, so it was very, very different type of love triangle. Whereas in this one, it's like maybe you share a look, or like maybe you kiss or hold hands or whatever. And I like that so much more, just because like the tension is there. It just feels more like, I don't know, I just like the YA romance so much more. I'm really here for it. I like both of the characters. I think I like already know which character I personally like more, but I don't want to say anything yet. Let's continue and see what happens next. I'm very excited to learn more and see where this goes, and I'm just like excited for the whole series now. I never have read anything by Jennifer Lynn Barnes to my knowledge, and I know she has a few other books that people have raved about online, so after this I might have to give those a try too, because it's kind of how I felt about Holly Jackson's writing too. It's been very fun. Okay, I have made it to page 215. I've read 166 pages of my 217, so I have about 50-ish pages, 51 pages left. I'm on chapter 33 and it's getting really intense. I can tell that I'm getting to the end of the book. I actually only have like 5 or 6 chapters left of the book, and I didn't think I would get through all of this so fast, but oh my gosh, like so much is happening. We're getting so many insights into who the killer is, why they're doing what they're doing, like what the patterns are. And honestly, it's really interesting. If you like CSI, then you're gonna like these books. And I'm like, am I I think I'm thinking of the wrong show. Criminal Minds. Oh my gosh, Criminal Minds. I keep saying CSI, but I mean Criminal Minds. So basically, every time I've said CSI, I mean Criminal Minds. If you like Criminal Minds, you're gonna like this set of books, or at least the first one so far. The untangling of like how things are happening and why is also pretty interesting and crazy. So I'm actually very satisfied with like the reasoning and like all of that. We still have to figure out so many more details. So I'm gonna keep reading, but I am getting tired. So I have about another hour of reading. Hopefully I can make it so that I hit my 217 pages, and I'm worried that for the next few days I will have so many more pages, but we're gonna get through as much as we possibly can, and yeah, just like cross that bridge as we get there throughout each of the days. So I'm going to focus on finishing my pages for today, and we'll head off to bed and we'll start again tomorrow. Hi, it's the next day, and I don't think I talked to you guys about the last thing that I read because I think I went to bed reading, but I finished my
pages. Glitch. Try again in a few seconds.
Whoa, my TV is talking to me. I finished my pages, and that also meant that I finished the book, and I got 2 chapters into the next book. So we are on page 315, if I remember correctly. The book ended in such a crazy way. You could tell that the way that the book was going, like the direction that it was going, was wanting to make you believe that one person was potentially the serial killer, and then I was like, no, there's no way that it's that person. Then I was like, I really can't figure out who it is. It kind of also was making me feel like it was somebody else, but then that felt like too obvious. So then I just kept reading, and it was actually crazy, the twist that happened. The twist was crazy, and I honestly like did not expect it at all. I knew who it wasn't going to be, but I couldn't figure out who it was going to be. So long story short, I gave it 5 stars. So now we're on Killer Instinct. I actually don't know like what the difference is between each of the books, or like what's going to be happening in each of the books, but I'm just kind of going in blind. We're gonna keep going. I did see a review that the love triangle gets stronger in Killer Instinct, so I am here for it. I really like the love triangle right now, so I'm excited to continue getting into that part of the story and just overall read. So let's check to see how much I have to read today. So I'm on page 315 of the entirety of like the collection, even though I'm on like whatever page chapter 3 is on. And last Sunday I did 174 pickups, which again, messages was my number 1. Spotify was next. I bet you that has something to do with my running, but messages, I spend so much time on my messages. I spent an hour and 12 minutes on Instagram and then an hour and 5 minutes on messages. The sad thing is that yesterday I had like fewer pickups. I did 125, but today I've already done 100. You guys can't see that, but I've done 174 pickups, which is funny because that's the exact number that I'm reading. So that means that today is going to be a high pickup number, but I think I had a lot of stuff that I had to do today. So like for example, it's already 2:40 because we've had a whole day. I went running with my running group. We had some errands that I needed to run with Ryan, so I've been using my phone during all of that and like looking things up. So here we are, but they need to read 174. That means we need to get to page 489 in the like set of books that I'm in. I don't think that that will be on book 3 yet. Like we're not going to finish this book today. I'll probably get to chapter 30 of this book, and I'm on chapter 3 right now. So let's start reading because I already know that 174 pages is a lot for me to read. Definitely want to get into it since it is already a little later. Like I have a later start to my reading. Let's see how far we get. Hopefully this helps in reducing all of my screen time too. Okay, we're still reading, but we got to another chapter where it says you on like the top part. I'm trying to decide if that is actually like hearing from the serial killer or if it's hearing from our main character profiling, but I have so much reading to do. It's already 5:30. It looks so dark outside because the time has officially changed. I need to just get to it. I have been distracted all day. We've been doing a bunch of different things around the house, and so I have not been reading nearly as much as I should, but luckily today I have fewer pages to read. So let's get to it. I know later in my week I'm probably gonna have a lot more pages to read, and I'm a little nervous about those days, but we'll get there when we get there. So let's keep reading. I still have like probably 4 hours to read, so we're gonna be reading basically all the way up until I go to bed. Okay, we're moving over to the bedroom because I'm I'm starting to get tired and we still need to read, but I'm just gonna get into bed and get cozy. I am currently on chapter 14 and I think I need to get around chapter 30 in order to finish my pages for the day. I think I have like 100 pages left, so I feel like it's definitely doable. And it's only 9:30 right now, so I have some time before I have to go to bed. I think I'm liking the book so far. The only thing is that it is very parallel to the first book. So like where the first book, we are dealing with this serial killer who kind of feels like has something to do with our main character. Now the serial killer in the second book has something to do with a different character that's like part of this special program. So it feels very similar in that way. And then the other reason it feels similar is I don't know how I actually feel about this part, because I understand that because this is a series, sometimes the author has to re-explain things, because if you are someone who read the books when they came out, then it could be a year plus until you read the next book. So re-explaining things is important, but I feel like sometimes the author re-explains things too many times, and that might also just be biased because I read the books back to back. Overall though, I am really liking it. I think I really liked the first one a lot because I was still so new to the characters and like new to the story, but because this one seems to be doing a lot of the same, I don't know what will rate it yet. It's also hard because I have no idea what percentage I am in the book, but I am on chapter 14 and I think there's like almost 50 chapters or something along those lines, so I know I have a lot to go, so it could pleasantly surprise me, who knows. But it's still a really fast read. All of the chapters are really fast. I don't think any chapter is taking me more than 10 minutes to read, which is really nice. So we're gonna just keep going, try to read and be done. We're gonna do our best. We have another 100 pages to read, so I am already getting tired, but I want to finish as much as I can. So I will keep you guys updated. I'll tell you guys if I end up finishing it in the morning, because I'm probably just gonna like finish it and then go to bed. I'll tell you guys where I'm at in the morning and we'll recap on my thoughts, and then we'll go on to our next set of pages. Good morning, you guys. It's pretty early this morning. Well, that's not that early, but it's early. It is Tuesday, actually. I didn't film anything yesterday because I ended up getting a headache, so I didn't really read a lot. So I'm going to film like the next few days as if it's the day prior, if that makes sense. So even though it's Tuesday, we'll go off of like Monday's numbers because I don't want to skip any days. So basically what that means is we've got to page 389. Is that the page? 489? We got to the page. I think it was 489 now that I'm saying it out loud. So far, I feel like the like romance is maybe a little bit more, I don't want to say like involved, but like more things are happening with the romance. There's just like a more of like everything, but it just feels like a 2.0 version of the first book, which isn't really a bad thing. It's definitely keeping my interest and there's like something new happening, but it's kind of the same idea of like serial killer, like we gotta figure out what's going on, and I'm curious if that's gonna be the case for all 4 books or if it's going to like mix it up, because that's kind of how I felt with Good Girl's Guide to Murder 2. Like the first 2 were very similar and it was good, but very similar. Then the last one just like totally mixed it up, so we shall see. Now we gotta see how many times I picked up my phone Monday of last week. This is actually hilarious. I picked up my phone 270 times, but if you guys see, messages is still the one that I always get, but calculator, I don't know why I'm using my calculator so much, but calculator was next on the list, so that's very funny. I spent 35 minutes on my calculator last Monday. What was I doing? I don't know. That's like one of my most used apps. 270, so that means that we have to, I don't know the exact number that we have to read, only because the book like ends and then the next one starts and there's like a lot of fluff in between, like acknowledgements and stuff that I'm not going to count. So I will report back, but basically we have to read 270 pages. So I'm gonna be finishing Killer Instinct today and I'll be probably a solid chunk of the way into All In. Let's see how it goes. Okay, I'm currently on chapter 32 and basically we're in a situation where one of the natural kids, his dad was a serial killer. We are at a woman's house who was like obsessed with him, and it's just so weird because she has like a picture of him hanging on the wall next to her son's photo and things like that. And okay, my camera died, but all I was basically saying was that it's just such a weird thought that people could be that obsessed with serial killers or like people who are in prison. And I know it happens, but it's just interesting to like see that. I know it's fiction, but just like in a book and like be able to get into the person's head. Just very interesting. I don't know. It's just odd to me. Anyway, very interesting. Let's keep reading. And I think we only have like 8 chapters, 10 chapters, something along those lines. So we're very, very close to finishing. Okay, you guys, it is much later. It's almost 8 o'clock now, and I haven't read a ton today. I'm getting cozy in my heated blanket. Honestly, I haven't really read a lot today because for me in my timeline, today is election day. So I have been just like glued to my phone checking what's going on. But you know, so it goes. We're gonna continue reading the Natural series. We're on Killer Instinct right now and we have to read 270 pages total today. But I think I've only read like 15 or 16. We have a lot to do. We have a lot to read. We're gonna get right into it. P has now joined us. Come here. Hello. I feel like we're getting close to some revelations in this book, which is really exciting. So I'm curious to see what else happens. A couple more chapters in and this book is really good, or like these books are really good at making you strongly believe one thing and then like totally transforming or like putting you in like another direction another second. So like the direction that we thought that we were going, now it's like, oh, actually that's not at all possible because of XYZ reason. And so now you're just like rethinking everything and you're like, I'm sure at some point I have discovered something, but I don't know what I've discovered. So like, what am I missing? And honestly, I love books like that because it just like keeps me on my toes, keeps me interested, and just like makes me have to evaluate everything that I'm reading too. And like remember everything and like think about all of the things that I'm reading, which is obviously like duh, but like it's not just mindless and it makes it a lot of fun. So I don't know who did the thing yet because like we're just, I don't know, it's crazy how long it's taking me to like figure out what's going on. But I don't even know like how far we're into the book, but I'm 36% of the way through all 5 of the books, so I think that's progress. It's been very interesting and I'm really curious to know if I already know if I've already met the character who was the killer, you know what I mean? Like I wonder if we've already crossed paths with them. We shall find out. Hello you guys, today is Wednesday. We're reading Tuesday's numbers today. Yesterday I was supposed to read 270 pages, but unfortunately with the election and everything going on, I didn't read nearly as much as I should have. So I just honestly was like talking to a bunch of people and checking my phone a lot. Like it was a lot, but you know, here we are. So quickly looking at last week, we had 244 pickups on Tuesday, which was October 29th. Again, messages, but then this time calendar was my next biggest pickup, which I guess kind of makes sense. I wanted to quickly just calculate how many pages I've already read. I'm almost finished with Killer Instinct. I was saying last night, I wonder if I have already met the serial killers, and for a hot second, I thought that it was going to be one person in particular. I don't think that's the direction that we're going in, but I do think that I've met the serial killer. So that's gonna be interesting. I don't wanna give anything away, obviously, but I am on page 567. We've read 77 pages. So today we have to read 437 pages, which this is just feeling stressful because I read like the average of like 40 pages an hour or something along those lines. So that means 11 hours of reading, which I also have a full-time job. If I didn't have a job or I didn't work today, maybe that would be possible, but that's a lot of pages. Let's see how much we can get through. I am going to try to get through as much as possible. Yeah, I'll just continue to keep you guys updated, but I didn't want to like not update you guys on like where I am on the book or anything like that. I just got really distracted yesterday with the stuff going on in the United States. There is that. But anyway, I'm gonna keep reading. It's only 7:15 right now, so we have some time before work starts. I haven't even gotten ready, but Ryan is heading out early because today's his last day of work, which is so exciting. He's starting a new job, so he's gonna have like a week and a half off in between the 2 jobs, and he's going in early today so that he can have brunch with some friends from work and just kind of like talk with them a little bit more candidly than he normally would, and then he'll probably be home early, honestly. So on our end, we're just gonna keep reading and working, and that's where we're at. So I will see you guys on the next update in the book. Okay, so I'm on chapter 43 right now. I don't know what percentage that is in the book, but there are 46 chapters plus like a little epilogue, like a 3 weeks later type of thing. And we're getting more into the like love triangle that we have going on in this book, which has been interesting because since it's YA, I feel like there are fewer stakes sometimes with YA novels where like we care about our characters being in love or like being excited about each other, but the like bulk of this book is really solving these mysteries. So sometimes the love triangle is falling the tiniest bit flat, but I do think that it pulls the idea of like the small things really matter, because there's a ton of little tiny details that do make me as a reader pull toward like, I really like this character, I really like this character with our main character, in comparison to just like in like a regular fiction novel having them like hook up or something, and that just, I don't know, feels different. So it is definitely exciting to see them slowly have conversations about how they're feeling too, because I don't feel like we get that very often. So it is nice, and we're kind of circling back into it. It does feel a little jarring, I guess, to go between like, we're discovering who the serial killer is, but also I'm kind of in love with this guy, and like just the back and forth is a little interesting. So continuing forward now, and let's see, I think we can probably finish this book within the next like, probably within the next like hour or so, I want to say. So let's get to reading and let's finish Killer Instinct. I knew it, I knew it, I knew it, I knew it, I knew it. We are officially on the epilogue, so 3 weeks later, but at the very end of the last chapter in the book, we discover our main character finally starting to make a decision about who she maybe wants to be with within this love triangle. And I have a feeling that this is going to continue forward in the rest of the series. But basically the way that her choice is made is kind of circumstantial, which is very interesting because she's in this moment where there's a lot of emotion happening and one of the guys is just there. And so then she's like experiencing that emotion with him. And it's a very interesting take on this because like the other guy finds out and he's obviously really upset about this. And again, I have a feeling that this is going to continue being a theme throughout the books because it would be weird for them to just like chop it off there. I guess the reason why I find this so fascinating in this like part of the book is because like this is such a real thing. The way that just like life works is exactly this, like circumstantial, and it's all about the people who are there for you in the exact moments that you need them, and there's no like right or wrong answer, which is such a wild thought. But that's kind of how in this moment at least she's deciding like, okay, this is my person, and I'm just like curious to see how that continues to play out in the rest of the book. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish the last like epilogue piece of this book, and then we are going to recalculate our pages and continue reading, because then we're gonna go straight into the third book, which is called All In. And I've been going into these books blind, so I think this time I might actually go and like look in the Goodreads synopsis thing to see like what maybe this particular one is about. I'm curious to see if it's going to be similar to the first two, or maybe we'll get a little bit of a change up to the themes in the book. So we shall find out. All right, we just finished Killer Instinct. I think I'm gonna give it 4 stars. I really liked it, but again, I think it was very similar to the first one. So for those reasons, I think I'm gonna give it 4. But I just recalculated all of my math. We're starting on page 643 and we have 393 pages to go. I am gonna go ahead and start this next book. It's called All In, and I was just reading the synopsis on Goodreads, and it seems like it's another string of serial killers, obviously, which like that's just like what these books are about. But this one seems very interesting because our main character has this situation in her life where her mom was basically presumed dead because she went missing, but the crime scene was so intense that like everyone was like, she must have definitely died, or like, you know, been transported somewhere to go die. And it sounds like, based off the synopsis, that we're gonna have a break in the case. So that should be pretty interesting. I'm excited for that because I think it will really help with breaking up some of the monotony that we're finding in the books. I might just be experiencing that because I'm reading them back to back. I do really still like them. Obviously, I'm giving them 5 and 4 stars, but I think it'll be nice to have something a little bit different. And I have no idea what Bad Blood is going to be about, but I'm gonna save reading the synopsis for that for when we get there. So for right now, I'm just going to jump right into All In, and we're gonna try to read another 393 pages today, which is so much, but we'll get there. We got this. Okay, so I've been reading a little bit of All In, and we are about 5 chapters in so far, and already we have a different type of flow of how this book is going, which is really nice. Basically, from the get-go, we have learned that there has been a break in our main character's mom's case, but we don't know what that is yet. So that's very exciting, just because it definitely breaks up like what the last 2 books were like in comparison to this one. Like, you can kind of see the trends of how the books went in the last 2 books, so it's nice to see something a little different. I'll probably have a lot more reading time after work, so let's continue reading. I have like a 10-minute break coming up here, and then we'll go back to work, and I'll update you guys when something exciting happens. I just got back home. I was running some errands. Now we're back and we are going to continue reading. I actually don't know how much more I need to read, but I'm only on chapter 5. I have like 400 pages to go still, I think. I'm just gonna keep reading. I'm gonna do as much as I can. I don't think I'm gonna be able to finish that honestly by today, but whatever I don't finish today, I will tackle on tomorrow. I was supposed to do them in each individual day, but it's been getting increasingly difficult, especially because I work, obviously. So let's do what we can. I'm gonna go out in the living room and sit with Ryan for a little bit, just put on some headphones. He's watching TV, and we'll just keep reading. This book is just like instantly picking up, taking off, and just going for it. P is here with me, just laying down. Hello, sweet angel. This blanket is a heated blanket and he's obsessed with it. It's about 9:15 right now, and I was just looking over election results, and I'm off of my phone. I'm taking off my watch. We're off the internet and we're done. I did not do nearly as much reading as I thought I was gonna do today, but we are we're getting there. So we're almost actually 50% of the way through the entire series. We're gonna continue reading. I don't think I'm gonna be able to obviously finish all of the reading that I wanted to do tonight, but we're gonna stay up as long as I possibly can, and then tomorrow we will do some more crunching numbers and continuing to read. I have a half day tomorrow, so hopefully I'll have some more time to read. We'll see. Honestly, I'm liking the pacing of the book so far. I think it's a little bit different. They're actually traveling in the 3rd book, and it mixes things up because the same characters and like very similar plot, but with mixing these bits and pieces up, it doesn't feel the same. So I'm liking it so far. I'm still super early on, so we have so much to discover. I will continue to update you guys along the way, but I'll probably just read as much as I possibly can tonight, and then I'll update you guys where we landed in the morning. Hello you guys, it's the next day and it is already evening, so I apologize I haven't been able to film for the majority of today, but we had a few things going on during the day. I had to take the day off work and whatever, but we're here now and we are ready to read. It's about 6:30 right now, so I thought I would check in with you guys on where we're at in the reading process. I don't actually remember what I got to in terms of pages as of like last night / this morning, but I did do some math. I just wanted to make sure that I was like trying to keep on track with the amount of pages that I was reading this morning. So we are trying to read as much as possible basically at this point. I think that the initial goal was to try to read the amount of pages per day, but it's slowly becoming by the end of the week read that number of pages, because I keep like slipping into not being able to complete my pages for the day. So we're just gonna cross our fingers that for the week we make the total goal. But on Wednesday, October 30th, I picked up my phone the most amount of times, which was 329, and most of that was messages, which I don't know what was happening on that day, but I spent a lot of time on my phone. I also was on a Google Sheet a lot, and then I was on Teams a lot for work. I don't really know what was happening. Anyway, long story short, we did a lot of damage on Wednesday of last week. So I was doing some math this morning, and I started, when I did this math, I started on page 704 of the book. I had 323 pages from the previous day plus the 329, so I was supposed to read 652 pages today. And I think I've read about 34 since I did this math. So we have a lot of reading to do. I haven't quite calculated like how much that is in comparison to like the rest of the book. I know for certain I need to finish this book, and I'm only on chapter 21. So, you know, we are getting through it. As I was reading though, I did want to talk to you guys about a couple of the things, and I just like quickly notated them. Basically, the first thing that I thought was interesting was in this third book, again, we're trying to like change a lot of the things that we initially saw in like the first and second book, which I personally love. Like, I love character growth, I love development, all of that kind of stuff. And basically there's this one character and her name is Sloane, and she's very matter of fact. She's a numbers person. She is like, does not understand emotions in people really. She's just like numbers, and like numbers come first. And in that way, she's kind of a rule follower, I guess. But basically something happens, and one of the other characters, our main character, Cassie, she discovers something about Sloane. And so she kind of, I don't want to say confronts her about it, but she's like asking her about it and says like, I can go talk to the other members of our group about this. And Sloane is basically like, no, please don't do that. Like, I just don't want anyone else to know about this. And I marked this particular passage talking about it because I really felt like this was like character development for her, because in most cases I feel like, one, she doesn't get emotional about nearly anything, and two, if she were to care about something, she would somehow like equate it to numbers somehow, or like make it make sense for her. And this was like the one thing that she didn't. I feel like Sloane was a character that was more on the side for so long, and slowly we're getting to know more about her, which I love, because we did that a little bit with some of our other characters. But I'm excited to like continue to dig into each of these characters, because our main character is not the only one that matters. That's sort of where I'm at. We're gonna do our best. We're gonna read as much as we possibly can, and we still have Friday and Saturday to make up for a lot of lost time, so we'll definitely have to do a lot of reading within those days. Good morning, guys. Today is Friday. Yesterday I did not check in with you guys much. Yesterday was kind of a weird day, and I had work and then had to leave early. It was a whole thing, so it is what it is, but we're here now. And I just wanted to start the day off by showing you how many pages I need to read and talking about what I read yesterday. Last Thursday, I picked up my phone 202 times. Again, mostly from messages, and then Safari was next. I feel like this one doesn't really shock me. It's more when it's something like the calculator or something like that being one of the top things that I'm picking up my phone for. But I did some math, so I read about 70 pages yesterday, so I have a total of 583 pages left over from the last few days, plus the 202, so I have to read 785 pages. This is feeling more and more overwhelming, so I'm just basically like reading as much as I possibly can. And then we also have whatever we have for tomorrow too, because we have to add on Friday's numbers. I mean, I think that I'm liking this book a lot more than the other two. Not more than the other two, but I'm liking that it's changing up the game. It's still looking for a serial killer, which is interesting, but the patterns are interesting, and the consistency isn't like exactly there, so that they basically like think that they're about to like catch a serial killer, and then the serial killer doesn't do anything, and then they're like, wait, he was supposed to be right, like based off our calculations he should be right here right now, and that doesn't happen. I think that with all of the other characters too, you get so much more emotion out of them, and you get more, just like more of an understanding out of all of them, which is really nice, because they're not just side characters, they're part of the story, and like they're part of this main character's new family. It's really nice to get a better sense of who these people are. Yeah, I'm really enjoying it, but I have a lot to read. I don't know how I'm gonna get it done, so I'm just going to read as much as I can like throughout the workday, like during lunch and before work and after work, and hopefully maybe I can like stay up late. I don't know, we'll see. I do feel though that because of this challenge I'm staying off my phone more, which is really nice. That's kind of the whole point of me doing this challenge. And then on top of it, I also feel like I am just like more conscious of what I'm even picking my phone up for, or like if I'm getting trapped into rabbit holes, because that is happening still. Like I'm definitely still using my phone. I could have been reading a lot more. Anyway, I'm gonna get back to it, continue reading, and let's see where the rest of the book takes us. Okay, I don't remember where I was when I last checked in with you guys, but I am currently on chapter 39, so I'm almost 60% of the way through all of the books, which is a lot. We just discovered something crazy. I've basically been reading since the time I got off of work today. This is what I love about series sometimes, because there's like themes that happen in each book, but then there's like an overarching theme, and we just hit the overarching, not theme, what's the, like storyline. That's the word that I'm looking for. What just happened, or like the things that we're starting to discover, are basically that like there's this overarching thing that's happening, and that the serial killer that we're looking at right now is probably a much bigger picture, like larger scale thing that's going on. And I'm here for this type of plot line because at first I was like, it's just another serial killer. Like we're getting more information about each of the characters and like learning about them more, but to have an entirely like overarching theme like this is so intriguing, and I'm like so excited to see where it goes. I'm excited to see if they actually catch this person or if it goes on into the fourth book or like what's going on exactly. So I'm just gonna keep reading. Honestly, I'm getting kind of tired, but it's still so early. It's just because the darkness is happening so soon. It's like 8:11. Why am I tired? We still have like 20 chapters plus to go, so much could happen. It could go in any direction at this point, and I need to know which direction it's going in. So I'm gonna keep reading. I'm gonna see how far we get. I don't know that we're gonna be able to hit our number, but I'm gonna try my best. So all I can do is keep reading and keep reading. Let's get to it. Hello you guys, we are on the last day of the challenge and today is Saturday, but we're doing Friday's numbers again because I had a headache one day and so we had to skip a day. I don't know how we're feeling yet, so we're gonna see, but right now I'm gonna open up the app and see where we're at. Last Friday we had 170 pickups, so that's honestly not bad. Again, messages is our #1 culprit. We also had the photos app. Surprisingly, the amount of time that I spend on each of my apps is so weird. Like Instagram, but then like McDonald's app. Why was I on it for so long? I don't know. I don't even remember going to McDonald's on Friday, but maybe I did. I don't know. Actually, I take that back. I might have ordered delivery. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna add 170 to our total number because it's been rough reading these days. I don't know why. Like each day I am not like reading it nearly as much as I need to. Okay, so we have to read 883 pages today. Oh, okay. If we were taking that number divided by 40 pages in an hour, that's 22 hours. So I don't know if we're gonna be able to finish it, but we're gonna do our best. I'm gonna try to read basically as much as I possibly can today because that's at this point really all I can do. So let's just get right to it. We're gonna read 883 pages and we're gonna do our best. This is gonna be a lot. Also, ignore this. I got bit earlier today. I went to Alzheimer's walk. So every year I go to the walk to end Alzheimer's and it's always so fun. Here's the cute little photo area that they set up and you can basically put in all of the flowers that you want, or you can keep your flowers whatever you want. I always keep ours, but each of the flower colors means something different. But anyway, I went with one of my friends and she brought her dog and her dog got really excited and jumped up at me and I ended up with that little nick in my mouth, which is kind of wild, but I asked somebody about it and they said it was okay. Their doctor. I'm just taking care of it, but ignore that for now. We're gonna go read and see how much we can get done because 883 pages is a lot. I don't really have too many other plans for the day except for I'm going to a friend's birthday party and I might go to dinner with a friend. So we'll see. I'm gonna just basically read interspersed between all of the other activities that we want to do today. Made it to chapter 45, and one thing that I love about these books is that they do a really good job of allowing you to think that you know which direction it's going to go in, but then totally taking you in a different direction. So for example, it felt like we kind of knew where we were going and then it switched it up, but then it switched it up again. And I love when books do that because it really keeps you on your toes, especially with like this book isn't that long, but I think that like if we just like knew slowly which direction we were going in, it would get a little bit boring. So it's really fun to have the constant mix up. The one thing that I don't like is that with each of the books so far, basically as they're getting closer and closer to figuring out what's going on, they decide to take the kids off of the case. And like the whole point, I guess in the first two books, they don't want them involved in the cases at all, but the kids are just like demanding to be a part of it. But in this one that I'm reading, not the last one, but the one that I'm reading, All In, they're meant to be a part of the FBI officially. They're allowed to be on real cases, not just cold cases. They can work on active cases. So it is a little frustrating that now the agent is like, nope, we're removing you from the case because they don't want any of the kids to get hurt, obviously. I think it's just going to be a theme that we see, but it is also like they're part of the FBI basically, so like just let them work on the case. They're clearly getting closer, so just like let them. But I get it at the same time because they're kids. A little contradictory, but it's so interesting. And just like the more that I'm learning about who it could be, it's like, oh my god, this is not the direction I thought it was going to go in, which is really fun. And again, I just love that that is constantly the theme with these books, is that like it's just always surprising me. I think I have probably about 2 hours left of this book, and then we'll go on to book 4. Basically, let's just keep reading. Oh my gosh, you guys. Okay, it's a lot later now, but I'm currently reading, and I just got to a part where basically I had a feeling, I don't remember if it was in the first book or the second book, and I want to say it was in the first one, but there was something that happened, and basically our main character like goes and she walks off. Someone like is just like sitting next to her, and they're like, oh, you live at this house, right? And she's like, yeah, whatever. And I always thought that that moment in the book was so weird, because why would this random person know where she lives? And also the program that she's a part of is like a kind of a secret program. So like, unless he is somebody who was somehow related to the FBI or that program, then like there'd be no way for him to have that information. So then fast forward to the third book now that I'm on, she's like having a dream, and she is seeing this guy again, and she's like, oh my gosh, I think I know who this person is. I knew he was gonna come back around. I knew it was important that that guy was like in the story, otherwise like he wouldn't be there. And like just like the moment that they had specifically was a big enough moment that like I was honestly surprised when that did not end up being like the serial killer from the first book or whatever. And he's not the killer in this book, but he's also someone who is definitely a bad person. Like, I don't want to give anything away, but oh my god, it's so crazy the hoops that we have gone through to like figure out who this person is. And like the fact that I'm not crazy for thinking that he was important is insane. Wow, that was really well done, because I feel like I was at a point where I was kind of forgetting about that person. Yeah, that was good. I'm so excited to learn more. Oh my god. I hope you guys read this, or if you guys have read this, tell me if that moment also surprised you, because I'm shocked. Hello you guys, it's the next day. Today is Sunday, and I unfortunately failed this challenge, but I kind of had a feeling that once I was starting to get behind, I was not going to be able to make up the lost time, because reading as many pages as I needed to read was a lot. So we're slowly getting through. I actually just finished the book All In, which is the third in the series, so there's one more in the series plus the novella at the end, and I'm now on page 992 of this like larger book. So that means that I would in theory have 769 pages to read in order to finish this challenge. So I'm not going to be able to read those pages probably by the end of today, because that would just take me so long. The challenge itself was a bit of a fail, so we're definitely gonna have to try this challenge again. I think that it was very insightful to see, you know, like what my stats were on my phone, and also just helped me stay off of my phone. But I think there were also some things in particular this week that kept me on my phone, sadly. So like, for example, the election, and just like talking with other people about what was going on, and so on and so forth. So in some ways it helped me stay off my phone, but then in other ways I was just like inevitably going to be on my phone more this week. But I did just finish All In, so I wanted to talk to you guys about it. And because I've been reading basically this entire series while I'm here, I thought, let's just finish the series together, and then we can like wrap it up in a neat little bow of like, even though we didn't hit all of our pages, at least we're finishing the series together. So we have one more book basically. The novella is like 100-ish pages, so I don't think it's gonna be too much to read. I like the satisfaction of having completed this entire series in one video. That feels like really fun. I'm trying to decide right now what to give All In. So where I left off, basically like the next chapter after I last spoke with you guys, we figured out who it was that did the things that were happening in the book directly. But it was an interesting ending, because the last like 10 chapters were basically using like the overarching arc line, or like overarching storyline that I was telling you guys about. Hi, he was just napping. So yeah, so basically there was sort of two storylines happening in this particular book, and one was just like the actual murders at hand happening, and then one was just a huge large scale thing going on. So I don't obviously want to give too many details. The last 10 chapters had to do with like the larger thing that was happening, and the last like chapter was huge surprise, but unfortunately I read the synopsis, or like, you know, the blurb in the back of the book of the fourth book a few chapters before I finished the book, just because I was like curious what it's about, and so I kind of spoiled it for myself. So if you're reading the series, don't read the blurbs out of order. Like, read them before you, like just after you finish the book, before you get into it, if you want to read them at all. just a disclaimer. I think I'm gonna give it a 4-star. I really liked it a lot. I think that one thing that for some reason is just like, I don't know how to describe it, but bear with me. So it's something that sort of bothers me about books, and it seems silly because a book is surrounding a main character for a reason, but sometimes it feels very convenient when that main character is being surrounded and then they are like, we're hearing from their perspective, but also they're like the important part of the story, if that makes sense. So like every single one of the books, the serial killers somehow have to do with one of our main characters. And we have like a couple of main characters, like the people who are in this like naturals program. And I don't know why that bothers me, that like maybe like the first book shouldn't have had to do with our main character, and then it wouldn't have felt so convenient that each of the other books also were similar to that. But like the fact that every serial killer has somehow had to do with one of our main characters feels kind of like, I don't know, like convenient that they are working on these cases, but maybe also they're just interested in these cases because it has to do with them, or like it feels similar. I don't know, but for some reason that bothers me. That being said, the storyline is great. I like 2 storylines, the immediate storyline and then the overarching theme in the storyline of like the entirety of the book. I think that's really cool and really well thought out, obviously, and I have no clue what's gonna happen in this 4th book. Like I said, I kind of spoiled some things for myself because of the blurb, so then when I realized I spoiled something, I just stopped reading the blurb, so I'm just gonna go into it the rest of the way blind. We're just gonna see what happens next. Anyway, let's keep reading. We're gonna read Bad Blood next and just get into it and see what happens with our main characters now. Okay, first thing. So I got the iconic Kindle stand and remote clicker thing that everybody has, and it's truly amazing. I just put it on our little, we don't really have like a coffee table per se, it's more like a little outdoor setup thing, but that's just because our living room is set up weird. So anyway, I put it on that and I'm really excited about it. I've been using it today and it's so much fun, especially because after a while, like holding up your Kindle kind of hurts your arm. I know that sounds so silly, but it's like a real thing. So this has been so fun, and then I can also just snuggle with P better and just like, I don't know, I'm loving it right now. So that's the first thing. The second thing is I'm currently reading Bad Blood and I'm liking it so far. I feel like there has been some tension between our characters. There's been a lot of stuff going on that is new to the story, and it's still doing the thing, like the pattern, I guess you could say, of following one main story and then also simultaneously we're looking at a bigger picture type story, which is really fun. What's interesting is, as I told you guys before, there is a love triangle in this book or this series, and I feel like I wish that there was a little bit more romance. I know that this is YA and romance is not the main plot points of this series, but I don't know, I just kind of wish there was a little bit more, because I feel like our main character sort of chose someone to be their significant other, and then like we don't really see anything with that. I don't know if that makes sense, but like whenever our main character does need her significant other, he is there, like he holds her hand, he like grabs her to like comfort her, that kind of thing, but we don't really get a lot of like love type tension, and I just feel like I'm missing out on that. I feel like it kind of like that particular storyline fell flat, and like, I don't know, I just wish that we had more of that. With that being said, the person that she did not choose, he's constantly been in an on and off relationship with someone, and he's kind of in some hot water right now because it feels like he lied about something, which I'm sure it will get explained away. But the funny thing is that I'm kind of thinking about like, what if our main character would have chosen him, and then that could have been an interesting thing that we were dealing with, if that makes sense. I don't know, I just feel like that could have been an interesting storyline that we're exploring, but because she's like very secure in the relationship that she's in, like that doesn't come up really. I don't know, or I wonder if that would have even come up at all if our main character did choose him, because then he would have been in a steady relationship, not in an on and off relationship. I don't know. I'm curious to see where this plot point goes, because I like the like thriller components and like the finding who did the thing kind of storyline, but I really feel like I'm missing a little bit of the romance, and I'm not normally a huge romance person. Like I do like reading romance novels. I should not say that I'm not a huge romance person, but when it comes to a book that's supposed to be suspenseful, I don't need to have romance. But if it's supposed to be a little bit of romance and then it just like tells you that they're together without explaining how they feel about each other, it just doesn't feel like they're together to me. So those are my complaints, but also the exciting things that I'm seeing. So I am on chapter 11, I think, of Bad Blood. We have 9 hours and 23 minutes out of like the entire series. So it's basically the rest of Bad Blood and then 12, which is the novella that follows the entire series. We're so close to being done. We're finally in the single digits in terms of like the hours that we have left to read. Let's keep reading. Let's get through as much as we possibly can and see what happens next. Okay, it's been about an hour. I'm on chapter 17 and it's crazy to look at what page I'm on because I'm on page 1072 of this book. We just got to a really interesting point and I feel like this book is being handled a lot differently than the last few books in this series. Basically, the thing that we were following initially, or like the case that we were following, ended up resolving itself a lot faster than we thought it was going to. And so now we're just kind of like, what's gonna happen next? Are we gonna go down the rabbit hole of the bigger case that the entire series is sort of like hinging on? Or is there going to be another case? We're sort of at this like pivot point, which is very, very interesting. Honestly, this series is pretty good. Like, I don't know if it's 5 stars good, but I'm liking how each book progresses, and I don't know, I feel like the way that it's progressing is showing a lot of character development, showing a lot of like different things instead of each of the books being nearly identical. I feel like it's keeping me on my toes enough to like want to know what's happening. We're on chapter 17. I think there's like 63 chapters again in this book, so we have quite a bit of reading to do. So let's get to it. Okay, I have one more thought before I continue reading, but there's this one character, her name is Sloane, and I am obsessed with her. I love her so much. She's just kind of quirky and like just knows so much about numbers, but for some reason, I feel like they kind of, I don't want to say they mistreat her at all. Like, they don't. They care a lot about her. But she kind of reminds me of like Phoebe from Friends, where like she's kind of discounted a little bit. Like, they even describe her as being childlike. Like, they literally say in this 4th book, like, I brought her to XYZ thing because she was the most like a child. And I don't know why that like hurt me a little inside, because one, I just want to protect Sloane at all costs, but I think that like Sloane can be childlike, but it's because she's so smart that she doesn't know how to read into other things, which is very interesting. It's like she's too smart when it comes to numbers, but she's not socially smart. But I don't know why, just like, it's kind of interesting that they describe her as childlike, or like that they acknowledge that she is very childlike. It just kind of was interesting to me, and I guess I never really recognized that she kind of is like a Phoebe. Anyway, just an observation, but I'm gonna keep reading. We're learning a lot of information. I feel like we're still between cases, which is kind of an interesting spot to be with this book. So I'm curious to see what else happens next. And also, this setup is so amazing because I can also just like cuddle with P, which is a lot harder when you have the book, because you want to like see the book, cuddle with him, make him comfortable. And now it can just basically be hovering above us, and it's amazing. I love it. Hello, you guys. It is the next day, and I wanted to update you on where we're at in the book and our reading and all of that great stuff. So we are currently on chapter 44 of Bad Blood. It's getting so good. We are at a point in the book where we are now focused in on the main plot, like the main questions of the series, and not so much on like smaller cases anymore. Although initially throughout the entirety of the series, there's always been like a main case that we've been focused in on, and then there's this like overarching case that's sort of in the background. And I feel like everything's sort of been flipped now, where the smaller case is sort of in the background, and like we've really only heard about it maybe one time in the like, I don't know, 50 to 100 pages that I've been reading, like the last 50 to 100 pages, whereas the main plot point type case that we were looking at is now the main case. I think that makes sense in terms of like the pivot in that dynamic, only because we're nearing the end of the entire series, so we do have to wrap up what's been happening with this like bigger case, and the twists and turns that it takes I was just explaining to Ryan earlier today actually that it's kind of cool because with any kind of thriller mystery type book, you do expect there to be a level of a twist that's like unexpected enough that it's going to capture your attention. But the twist that they chose to go is like just a route that I feel like is not very much explored, and I really enjoy that this is just like such a different type of storyline that we get to explore, because I don't know that I've ever read a book that has this particular type of storyline, and I am so here for it. And it's so interesting to me because there's like so many different dynamics within, so I don't know, it's just like so fascinating. I'm so like not paying attention to the page numbers anymore. This video is totally turned into just like me reading the series basically, which is also great. I'm so here for it. With that being said, let's continue and let's read and find out what happens next. We're getting so close to the end of this book, Bad Blood. I thought this was really funny, and basically like the situation at hand and like what we are now discovering to be potentially the truth of like who did what is kind of outlandish. I'm not gonna lie, like it's kind of out there. And there's one new character who kind of inserted herself at the beginning of the book, and she is someone that is slowly growing on us. She basically like boiled the like craziness down and was like, so just checking, this is what we're going with the working theory. And everyone's just kind of like staring at each other like, yeah, it seems like it. And I just think it's so funny because it is kind of out there, but we're gonna see if that's the like true, the word that I'm looking for, like if that's really what happened. Because if that's actually what happened and like this is the truth, that's kind of a crazy story. I wonder if maybe someone is lying somewhere. We're gonna have to find out. So I'm gonna keep reading. We're on chapter 53 right now, and we have 5 hours left in the entire series. Update. The craziness that we thought was the reality was not the reality. So that's kind of good, because I feel like it would have been too wild and like out there for that to be the truth. The reality is still just as wild. So it is still so interesting and like still so wild. But I mean, I think it's a good thing because again, I think it would have like sometimes things are too outlandish, and I know it's a fictional story, so it's like things are supposed to be a little outlandish, but like if it's too far out there, it's just a little too much. But we're learning so much more now and it's getting so good. So I'm just gonna keep reading and like keep getting through it. We're finally getting all of the answers. We're on chapter 55 now, so we're a couple more chapters in and all of the answers are presenting themselves, so I'm just learning everything now. Wait, what? What? Oh my god, what? Oh my god, what? What? Oh my god. What? Whoa, that was the craziest chapter. Chapter 58 of Bad Blood. Insane. Okay, a few updates. It's a lot later now. It's about 10:30, but I just started 12, which is the novella at the end of the series, and I finished Bad Blood, and I think I'm gonna give it 4 stars. The only reason I'm doing that is because there's just so much to keep track of, and I feel like the book itself is just like so good. I don't know what I would give it if I were to be a person who gives like half stars, but I just don't typically do that. So I just feel like it was really good and really well done, but I think that there were a few things that, because you have to keep track of so many people and so many names and so many mixed stories, that you lose a piece of the story itself. So like there's one plot point in particular that kind of just like drops off, and I think for that reason, I can't give it a 4 or a 5 star. 4 stars, but it's still fantastic. I really like it. Honestly, the entire series has been amazing. And I'm reading 12 now, which is again the novella at the very end of the series. I initially wasn't sure why it was called 12, and I was speculating that it's because one of the main characters, he was like the first person in this naturals program and he started it when he was 12. But I think this author is just like, there's just like a lot of numbers, and numbers mean a lot in this series. So I don't know if that's like because of the author, but 12 is very significant for a lot of the people. So 12 is how old he was, like I mentioned, but 12 is also how old our main character is when her mom goes missing. 12 is also the age of like another one of the naturals, and 12 is the age of a case that they're now working on. So they're all a lot older. I think they said they're 21 or 23, something like that. So it's essentially 5 years after the original series. So I'm not sure if 12 is going to mean anything else in the series, but we only have about 100-ish, 150 pages left of the entire series. So I'll likely finish this tomorrow morning, but let's continue reading in the meantime and figure out what 12 actually means. Hello again, you guys. So I wanted to kind of tell you guys a little bit more about my final thoughts on the series and just like generally like the last book, which is a novella, and then also just like the series as a whole. So the last book, I think I gave it 3 stars. Actually, let me quickly look it up because I don't want to lie to you guys. Oh no, I gave it 4 stars. I think I was between a 3 and a 4 for this one. So initially, because the book was called 12, I thought that maybe this would have to do with our main character has a love interest, and he was 12 when he entered this FBI program. So I thought it had something to do with 12. I do feel like the author herself is, I don't want to call it obsessed, but she is very intrigued by numbers. It's kind of clear, and she makes a lot of patterns. So like 12 means a lot of different things. A lot of things happen for our various characters at the age of 12. So it's very interesting to see like what 12 can be. The interesting thing is that during this book, it actually is not just about that one character and his like what happened at the age of 12, because throughout the entire series, that's a very important plot point. It's more so about each of the characters and what happened to them when they were 12, and then also it's going through another case that is not nearly as involved as all of the other cases. It's a very interesting one, and it kind of goes full circle. I could see a spin-off series from this series just based on the novella alone because of the way that it was able to wrap up the series, but I do still feel like there's a lot of unanswered questions. So first and foremost, I wrote down some of my thoughts, but on the last like full book, Bad Blood, I can't remember if I said this earlier in my video here, but I do wish that they would have wrapped up some of the loose ends, because I think that there was this overarching plot point, and basically there was like a smaller plot point and a bigger plot point, and those both were overarching throughout the entirety of the series, but I feel like the bigger plot point took over the smaller plot point, and so then we didn't really get resolution about the small plot point. It just kind of got passed off into like, oh well, like we solved this piece. So I just kind of wish that that would have closed, like that loop closed, but you know, it is what it is. I still think that like the way that everything was handled was really interesting. The other things that I put down were that I felt like at the beginning of this series, the love triangle felt very strong, like very, very strong. I felt like there was a lot of action between our characters and a lot of like them trying to figure out what was going on between all of them. But then once our main character decided upon like who she wanted to be with, it was like there was no more love triangle. There was no more deciding, like that was law. The love story as a whole, or like any of those plot points, kind of like went out the window, which I personally didn't love either. I felt like we had a lot of potential growth within those relationships that we could have seen, and I just also feel like our other character was fighting so hard to be with our main character, and then when she decided who she wanted to be with, he was just like, that's cool, no worries. And I just don't feel like that was really what the character's response should have been, just based off of how the character acted in every other instance in their life within the story. So that was interesting. I do wish that there was a little bit more romance. I am okay with books without romance, but if you're going to introduce a romantic aspect, I just want that to be fully fleshed out, I guess. I did like how fast-paced everything was. It was interesting because actually the chapters in the novella were longer than the chapters in all of the other books. The chapters were literally max 10 minutes, maybe like 4 or 5 minutes per chapter on average, maybe 7. And so just being able to fly through chapters was a really nice feeling, especially as someone like myself who tends to be a slower reader. I just felt like they were super fast paced, they were short enough, they were twisty, like it was really nice, really quippy, and just kept the pace going. Those were like the only like other big thoughts that I had. I think that the whole book series as a whole was great. I don't know that I would say that it's a 5-star book series, but it's definitely like a 4.5 5-star book series. Like, it was so good. Every book got a 5 or 4 star for me, so I think that overall, like, I don't know that it's like my #1 favorite book series ever, but it's a really good one and very entertaining and very fast paced. I mean, again, I read this in like a week and a half to 2 weeks. So if you're looking for something to get you out of a slump or anything like that, I highly recommend this one. The only other thing that I have to say really is that I have never really had an experience like I did with Bad Blood where I was audibly like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, because that was like, I still remember that happened on chapter 58, and it's been almost a week since I read that book, and I don't think I'll ever forget that was on chapter 58. I can't remember every detail of what I was saying oh my god to, but I remember how crazy it was. And my friend is currently reading the book, and I literally told her, or she's reading the series and she just finished book 2, and I literally told her, when you get to Bad Blood and you get to chapter 58, please FaceTime me because I need to see your reaction when you do, because it was so good. So if you guys do decide to read this, chapter 58 of Bad Blood is so good. All that just to say, I really did enjoy this journey, and I know that it was a little different where I started this off as a challenge and I just turned this into like, let's read the entire series together. But sometimes you just have to make some changes based upon what the reality of your reading situation is. I don't know that I would have been able to do this if I was trying to do this on any other week, just because some of the pages, or like the page number days, whatever, are like, they were pretty hefty. Like, I think one of them was in the 300s. I don't know that I could read 300 pages in a day without having like an entire day off. So I would maybe try this again, maybe when I'm having like an entire PTO week or something like that. But who knows? Maybe we'll try again in the future. Maybe we'll be successful again in the future. But I will say that I do think that it made me very conscious of being off my phone and just trying really hard to not pick up my phone while I'm reading either, because I just don't realize how often I'm checking my phone. And most things are not that serious. I don't need to be responding to text messages within minutes or using my calculator app like for hours on a day. Like, I don't know what that was about. I love the calculator, I guess. That's all I have for you guys today. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye guys.